Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. I'm Dan the Blood Man from Your Florida Blood Services. Did you know it was yours? Did you? Well, it is. We're Tampa Bay's not-for-profit, community-based blood center, providing blood for patients at 46 hospitals here in Tampa Bay, where 1 out of 7 patients who enter, 1 out of 7 will need blood or the parts of blood I'm going to talk about today. That blood can only come from volunteer donors. There are no artificial substitutes. We need almost 1,000 donations a day in Tampa Bay. That's a lot of blood. Why is that? We're blessed being the West Coast Medical Hub, which is a great thing if you or your family need to have medical care. We've got the children's hospitals, All Kids here in Pinellas, St. Joe's, and Tampa, treating severely ill newborns and young people. We've got the veterans hospitals, Bay Pines here in Pinellas, Haley's by USF, treating the veterans from our different wars. We've got trauma centers, Bayfront here in Pinellas, Tampa General, over in Tampa, obviously, and not only a trauma center, but a burn center and an organ transplant center. More blood from FBS donors goes to patients at TGH than any other hospital in this region. Over 35,000 blood donations to TGH patients alone last year. We've got Moffitt Cancer Center, the National Institutes of Health Cancer Center for the Southeast United States. Talk about people who need lots of blood products. People fighting cancer, which is oftentimes a long, long battle. In fact, more blood is used to treat diseases and people who have blood problems than accidents and surgeries combined. So if you're a blood donor, thank you. Please keep giving. The safety of our blood supply starts with healthy volunteers sharing their gift of life. And if you're not a donor, or maybe haven't given in a while, I'm going to invite you to consider making that choice to join that life-saving team. You essentially need to be 16 or older. I think you all qualify. Weigh at least 110 pounds. I think you all qualify. And are healthy. That I don't know about. And chances are you could be a life-saving blood donor. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the process of blood and how those different parts of blood are used to save lives. It's truly a fascinating miracle inside of you, happening every second of your existence. You have a little blood factory inside of you where your blood system is made, and we're going to talk about that. So the problem, or the blood drive starts with making an appointment to come out. We have a blood drive this week here at Sensodyne, and you make an appointment to come out. You bring some ID with you. We want you to show us that who you are, you say you are. That's the safety part of that regulation that we have. So we get your name and address, your phone number, your email on a legal document called a single donation record. You'll then have a confidential medical review by one of our staff asking you about 50 questions that are mandated by the Food and Drug Administration. We're considered a pharmaceutical because blood is medicine that saves lives. So we ask you about your medical background, your travel, your lifestyle. Can you be a blood donor based upon those factors? Assuming you can be, then you get a mini physical, which is actually a health benefit for you. We check your blood pressure, your iron, your pulse, your temperature, and then we do a cholesterol screening after you donate. Things you pay a doctor for every time, we do for free as a safety and a protection for you. So you can be a donor, you're healthy today, you go back and lie down in one of our nice comfy beds to do some volunteer work, lying down. And we pull out a brand new clean blood bag, it's never been used, and that's why you can't get AIDS or any disease in this country by giving blood. We do not reuse needles in America, okay? And if we took it out of that bag, it would look like this pile of spaghetti. If you never donated blood before and somebody pulled all these bags out, you might say, "You're not gonna fill them all, are you?" Not if we like you, okay? You're going to fill up one bag with 500 milliliters of your blood, which for an adult is about 10%. The average adult has about 5 liters of blood in your body. That's why you have to weigh at least 110 pounds to have enough blood in you to share. So if you're a churchgoer, it's like tithing your blood, giving your 10%, okay? So we're actually going to fill up one bag with blood. In fact, in this example, there's usually a needle on here, but they don't trust Dan the Blood Man with needles. And the first sample of your blood goes in this little bitty bag called a diversion pouch. And that will be backflowed into 4 test tubes, which will go back to our laboratory for testing. Blood testing is the second layer of safety. Healthy volunteers giving blood, and then we test the blood every time with 14 tests, 11 of those are viral. And that turnaround time is at least 24 hours. That's why you can't wait till someone you know and love needs blood to give it. It's got to be on the shelf. If you're in a car wreck today, or for example, when a police officer gets shot, everybody shows up to donate. It's what's on the shelf right now that saves lives. That's why it's got to be there, okay? So this is a closed, sterile system, and what happens then is you donate that 500 milliliters of blood. Now I want to caution you, this is fake blood. The only real blood I brought today is in my body, okay? So you donate a pint of whole blood, it's dark red because it's venous blood. You breathe in. Inside your lungs, billions of red blood cells turn bright red. Just like when you cut your finger, the blood comes out dark red, and all of a sudden it goes boom, it turns bright red, right? It oxygenates, happens in your lungs. Your heart, which by the way is the only muscle in your body that never rests, because if it does, you're dead, okay? Your heart beats 24 hours a day, 100,000 times, pumping 2,000 gallons of blood around your body. Remember, you only have 5 liters. That blood's making a circle, circle, circle. While you're sitting here for this presentation this morning, a red cell's making a complete loop around your body in about 40 seconds. If you're out running around the building at lunch, you might be pumping that red cell around every 10 seconds. So again, this is venous blood, dark red. You breathed in, it turns bright red. Your heart pumps it out through your arteries to capillaries. Capillaries are like microscopic spider webs, touch every cell in your body, delivering oxygen, picking up carbon dioxide, turning dark red, being pulled back to your lungs through your veins, and that repeats that cycle. If you're able to take your arteries, your capillaries, and your veins out of your body, your entire blood system, and stretch them out end to end, you could wrap our Earth over 2 times. That's the extent of your blood system, touching every cell in your body, keeping you alive. So this is whole blood. You donate it. It's living tissue. It goes back to the blood bank where we start what's called a manufacturing process. This is put in a centrifuge, just like a large washing machine, and it spins it around, and it speeds up what gravity would do naturally. So what happens in one blood bag, again, this is my example, is that your heavier part of your blood, your red blood cells, sink to the bottom. The fluid portion of your blood, called plasma, rises to the top. Remember the closed sterile system? We open the connections between the bags. We squeeze this bag, pushing off the plasma and the platelets that are in it into the satellite bag, leaving behind a unit of packed red blood cells, to which there's another bag here of a preservative. We then can refrigerate this and store it for 42 days. Now here's a wow fact about your blood system. Your blood factory is in your body in your bone marrow, and all your bones have it, but the largest cavity is your pelvic cavity. It's kind of like a honeycomb structure inside of you, making stem cells. And stem cells are the parent cells of your blood system. And every day, for example, as healthy adults, you're making over 100 billion, yeah, that was the B word, 100 billion red blood cells. And they only live 100 to 120 days in your body. They have a shelf life inside of you, just like they do in my blood bag. But some of these are 1 day old and some of these are 120 days old, which is why we have a 42-day refrigerated shelf life. So this can be used for accidents, surgeries, traumas. People who are chronically anemic, they just don't make enough red blood cells. And that's how that part of your blood can be used to help save lives, by delivering oxygen to patients who have very, very low blood levels. So we still have the plasma. We spin it again in another centrifuge at the blood center and do a heavy spin, a hard spin, and that forces the other main cellular part of your blood we're looking for, your platelets, to the bottom of this satellite bag. We draw off the plasma that's left, and that leaves behind platelets suspended in plasma. Now, platelets are what clots your blood. When you cut your finger, what actually forms a scab are platelets. And the thing about platelets is that makes them so special is they only have a 5-day shelf life in the blood bag. And the billions you're making in your bone marrow today, your blood factory, okay, only live 10 days in your body. Very short shelf life. And the thing about platelets is what they do, besides just stop you when you're bleeding externally, is even more amazingly, every second of your existence inside your body, they keep you from bleeding. Remember I talked about your arteries, your capillaries, and veins, your blood system that can wrap the earth 2 times? Well, there's microscopic tears happening inside of you all the time. And if you didn't have platelets in your bloodstream at a certain level to stop and plug those leaks, you would internally hemorrhage and bleed to death. Think about getting punched in the arm, that bruise starts, but it stops because you have platelets. And platelets get used for people who have like cancers, because when you get chemo and radiation to kill those cancer cells, well, you kill the good cells too, but more importantly, you mess up the blood factory until you're cured and you're healed. So cancer patients rely on volunteer donor platelets to keep them from internally bleeding to death. And the platelets are given 1 unit of whole blood. Actually, 6 different donors' platelets are pooled together to make 1 dose or 1 transfusion, because when you need platelets, you need a lot of them. That's why some of our donors come to our centers. Have you ever been to one of our donor centers as opposed to our blood mobiles? And you'll see people giving just platelets, because platelet donors, because your little blood factory is making them like crazy, can donate every 2 weeks and can give 1, 2, or 3 complete doses of platelets that would otherwise take 6, 12, or 18 whole blood donors to make that volume. And again, 5-day shelf life. So when you need platelets, you need them regularly, which is why we need lots of platelets all the time. That's that part of your blood and how it saves lives. Still have the plasma. We flash freeze this in nitrogen gas after you donate, 50 below zero. Keep it for up to a year, pull it out of the freezer, warm it up, transfuse it. Burn victims are an example of people who use lots and lots of plasma. Our bodies are mostly made out of water, something I didn't learn until I was in my 40s. If you talk about our biological bodies, okay, it is mostly water, which is why hydration is so important, drinking lots and lots of water, not coffee, not beer, not soda, okay? Good old-fashioned water to keep you hydrated, because every cell in your body needs that. Your plasma is 55% of your blood. Your blood is mostly water. Now, this is a special water. This is a saline-based water with chemicals and proteins and clotting factors and all sorts of other things. So we give this to burn victims because when they lose their skin, they're losing a lot more fluid, and this is a healing fluid. We also use a lot of plasma for organ transplant patients. I want to tell you a quick story about somebody I met a few years ago. Her name's Sarita Ford. And she and her husband Rodney had moved from Oklahoma, where he was a big blood advocate there, and he introduced himself when he moved to town. And about 2 years ago, Sarita needed a kidney transplant. And in the mystery of life, Rodney, her husband, okay, not related, they were husband and wife, not related other than how we're all related by our DNA at some level, but he was a genetic match, and he gave her one of his 2 kidneys over at TGH. And he told me after, he says, Dan, she was doing great for the first 3 weeks. And then her body started to reject my kidney. And he says, Dan, they had to give her 6 liters of plasma. No, it was 20, like 22 liters of plasma. And Rodney figured it was 100 different donors helped save her life, prevent that organ rejection. And she's alive today, and Rodney wishes he had had a kidney to save somebody else's life. And that's the miracle what your blood system can do. So every time you donate whole blood, which you can do as often as every 8 weeks, because you're a little blood factory, we get a plasma, a platelet, and a red blood cell, and you can save or sustain 3 lives. That is truly a miracle. Now, there's 3 reasons I've heard for many, many years, and I've been with Florida Blood and our predecessors here in Tampa Bay for over 24 years. 3 reasons people often say they don't give blood. The first one for many people is my excuse for years: I'm scared of needles. If you like needles, we probably don't want your blood, okay? It's a quick sting, it's a pinch in the arm. You know, patients don't like needles either, but they don't have a choice, but you do. You do. Second reason, I'll get AIDS if I give blood. You can't get AIDS by giving blood. It's what you're sharing. It's what's coming out of you into a clean, sterile blood bag, okay? You don't get any disease by giving blood. The third reason I often hear is, hey, nobody ever asked me. Well, maybe that's why I'm here today, to let you know about the miracle of your blood factory inside of you, making blood every day, and it's a gift that you can share that doesn't cost you anything other than a little bit of time. None of us plan on needing blood, but the reality is if we live to be age 72 or older, 90% of us will need blood, or the parts of blood I'm talking about. And if it's not you, it's someone you know and love, and it's got to be there. I've come to believe in my 24-plus years of working at Florida Blood Services, and now 25 gallons of donations, because I overcame my fear of needles, saying I can't ask people to do what I've never done. And once I did it, I said, you know what, it was all up here, really. It really was. And I've come to believe giving blood is good for your body, your mind, and your spirit. It's good for your body. Every time you donate, blood pressure, iron, pulse, temperature, cholesterol screening, things you pay a doctor for, we do on a regular basis when you donate, and you can track that. You have a website, confidentially password protected, and you can track your donation history and those factors of your body. And I take it to my doctor. Here's my blood pressures the last 6 months. Here's my cholesterols, and it's just a benefit. And also for you middle-aged guys like me, giving whole blood twice a year lowers your risk of heart attack and stroke. Women lose their excess iron through their menstrual cycle. Men don't. We tend to have too much iron in our system. It's hard on your liver, hard on your kidneys, and it's like a partial oil change, guys, every time you give, okay? So giving blood is good for your body. It's good for your mind, your peace of mind. Again, none of us plan on needing blood, but it has to be there, and that way we have to pay it forward. There's a woman, Dr. Sassima, worked at a cancer center and wrote this quote one day that I really liked. And she says, you know, giving blood should be viewed as a community responsibility. Remember, it's our blood center. She said, like paying your taxes, inoculating your children, observing the rules of the road. You know, you pay it forward because someday it might be you or your loved one who needs blood and need that transfusion, and it's got to be there. So giving blood's good for your mind, your peace of mind. And finally, giving blood's good for your spirit. Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister from England, said, "You make a living by what you get, and a life by what you give." If you've been blessed with good health, you can share it with others and make a difference in your life and their lives as well. Because ultimately, at the end of our life's journey, we're going to come to this conclusion of what does our life stand for? What is the legacy we've left behind? What difference have we made? Okay? There's a gentleman named Abraham Maslow. If you ever studied psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow in the 50s said, the first thing humans have to deal with is food, clothing, and shelter. If you don't have clean water to drink or food to eat, you're not thinking about being a blood donor. You're thinking about survival. But you get those basic needs met. And your next level of needs, love, relationship, knowledge, understanding, things that you go to school for and you get married for and you have families for, is that next level of needs and relational. But at the top of his pyramid is what he called self-actualization and transcendence. What's going to define my purpose on life? What difference will I make? What will I leave behind? And what is it going to mean? We're mostly made out of water as biological units. So it's our minds and the choices we make and our spirits, that whether we lift up or not ourselves and others, that define our life's journey and what gives it meaning. And I want to put forth to you that giving blood is one way we can make a difference. And again, in our lives and the lives of others. It's a legacy we can leave behind of how we care for one another. That's truly a miracle, of a gift of sharing something we've been freely given, our good health and our blood that we manufacture every day. So I'd like to thank you for having me here this morning to tell you a little bit about your blood system and to encourage you to join that lifelong journey. Make it part of a healthy lifestyle of being a regular blood donor and make that difference. Can I answer any questions for anybody? I know sometimes people always had a question or wondered something that maybe I talked about that you didn't understand. Yes, sir.
I'd like to know where I can get a pair of those pants.
I started 24 years ago. The first conference I ever went to, women wearing red skirts, women wearing red suits. I get it, okay? They are hard to find. You have to go to ethnic stores, okay? I didn't buy the hat that matched, though.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
I try to be a regular donor here at Cincinnati, and sometimes when I'm not available during the blood cycle, I'm out on the road. Can you give blood? Do you have like a code for Cincinnati?
They should be able to tell you that, and if not, your chairperson could give that to you. Yes, any of our centers, any of our mobiles, you can go to them and say, I want you to credit Sensodyne, or my church, or the hospital. Some of our hospitals will give out their codes and encourage patient families to give on their behalf. Okay, the way we operate, blood is freely given by volunteer donors, but it costs us money as your nonprofit blood center to draw the blood, test the blood, pack the blood, ship the blood, okay? We're a fee-for-service organization, just like a nonprofit hospital. They give you medical care, they bill your insurance for what it costs to do that. These great multi-bag blood bags that are sterile plastic that actually breathe so they can oxygenate without leaking, these are like $20. And we're buying gazillions of them, but they're like $20. Costs over $50 to test a blood donor every time for all those diseases, okay? So you can credit anybody you want. It's the gift you're giving, and it acknowledges their support of our community because, again, it's our community's blood center, and we all have to support it in whatever way we can. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Years ago, I went to give blood, and I had hepatitis when I was a kid. But I haven't had anything since. It's been a long time. I don't know if that's still true or not.
Yeah, that's a very good question. We're regulated by the FDA and others, okay, and they change standards at times. They reevaluate, like they just did a big reevaluation of malarial areas. Used to be you go on a cruise and malaria area, you're out for a year, yeah. But they've changed some of that, so don't be discouraged, and you can either call us ahead of time and I have a medical question, or come out to the bus and have staff look at that. My understanding of hepatitis, if it's before age 11, you're okay. But a lot of times we have people that test positive for hepatitis and things that are actually what we call a false positive. And again, we're mandated by the government to do all these tests. We have high sensitivity levels. So your healthy body might have been exposed to hepatitis. You never actually got it, but your immune system shows it in your bloodstream. And the science goes that your blood going to a patient who has no immune system, it could take off. So if we test you and find you test positive by our sensitivity, we'll actually do another test, make sure that you don't have it, and we'll notify you that. But by law, we can't use your blood, and we'll tell you you can't be a donor anymore because, again, it's about the patient's safety. That's why only about 37% of the population can donate at any one time, because of all the deferrals. It's 6 months or more in Europe, a lot of our servicemen and women, they're deferred for life because they might eat beef contaminated with mad cow disease. All about safety. We have the safest blood supply in the world, but again, it starts with healthy people giving blood, those who know they aren't at risk for diseases. Because if we're not going to do it, those of us who know we got good blood, who's going to do it? Who's going to make sure it's there when all of us need it most? Any questions? Yes?
About the website that you said to keep track of how much blood have you donated and stuff, where can I get that information?
Okay. You go to our website, or actually go to fbsdonor.org. Our website's fbsblood.org. If you go to fbsdonor.org, and you'll click on the icon for our logo, and it'll ask you for, if it's your first time, it asks you, I believe, for your donor ID number, which is on your donor card. Do you have a donor card? Okay. Then there's a link there you can click. If it says, and I think it's G Young or D Dement, and you can email them and say, hey, give me a call, and they'll look you up in the computer and they'll walk you through it that first time. Because it's like your donor ID number and your date of birth the first time. And then you set up your own password, and that will tell you your donation history, your blood pressures, and your cholesterols for every time you've donated. Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I've noticed that when I'm donating, as a standard, there's another donation that you're doing where you take out the, and then I'm not sure how all that works.
Okay, let me explain that. That's great questions. Historically, what happened, y'all remember Glass Jars, the MASH TV series, and Glass Jars of whole blood. Well, that's all they had initially was whole blood, and everybody got whole blood or no blood. And medical science came along and said, not everybody needs all the fluid, but they need the red cells, or they need the platelets to stop the bleeding. And they invented plastics in the 50s, which is why it allowed us to do what we call component therapy. Each one of these has a certain medical use, and we target the particular patient's needs. And then technology evolved to say, you know what? We separate this blood in the lab, let's separate the blood bedside. And people can give, based on their blood type, what is their best gift to patients in need. So today, a lot of times we'll ask you, what's your blood type? And you say, I'm an O neg. Well, O neg is universal red cell. And we're going to say, please give either whole blood or an automated red cell donation, which is for a guy or a gal that weighs a little bit more, which means they have more blood in their body, and their iron count's high. We'll check their iron. They can give 2 units of just packed red blood cells and get back their plasma and their platelets. And that's an automated donation, and the difference there is instead of being able to give every 8 weeks, because you're given 2 units of red cells, you wait 16 weeks between donations. So it allows people to give more of what patients need most based on their blood type, and less time overall because you're only donating once instead of twice in that period. Now, we have other donors at our centers, and we have one Bloodmobile that will come in and donate just plasma and platelets, which plasma you replace in 24 hours. That's the fluid portion of your blood. And your platelets you make like crazy. And again, they have 10 days shelf life in your body, 5 days at the blood bank. And so we'll have people, you can give platelets every 2 weeks up to 24 times a year. And we have some regular donors that do that every couple of weeks, give just platelets, because they can give, again, 1, 2, or 3 complete doses. And they have to usually go to our centers to do that. So there's the different parts of your blood. Based on your blood type, for example, if you're type AB blood, your plasma is universal donor plasma, trauma plasma. And we ship this to the military sometimes when they need it. We use it for again, burn victims, people who have traumas who we don't have time to figure out their blood type. We can give it to anybody because it's universal. So we'll ask ABs to give maybe plasma or plasma with platelets because we get a lot of plasma when they donate, and they actually get fluids back while they donate to keep their blood pressures up, and again, their body converts it into plasma.
But you don't put back something back in the body that you take out, like you take...
If we take out the red cells, if you're doing the automated donation you've seen in the Bloodmobile, it's automated red cells, and you're getting back your plasma and your platelets.
It's like changing the oil. Don't you want to just get rid of all of it?
That's the red cell is your oil change. That's the part that your cholesterol binds to, and your red cells.
Put it back inside if I'm getting it out.
It's because this is the part we need most, and we're giving you this back to keep your blood pressures up. And yeah, I mean, we could probably just replace it with fluids but we give it back to you because this is the part we're looking to get from you with that donation.
It's kind of pure too, right? 'Cause it's in your bags.
It's getting back to you. It's all sterile. It's a closed, sterile system.
As opposed to you adding a foreign food.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen, I want to thank you again for your time this morning, for listening and learning. I hope that you'll make a difference in your lives and the lives of others. As I said in the beginning, I am Dan the Blood Man. There's lots of reasons, and this is one of them. What we're doing here today gives us lots of enjoyment. It's not just a matter of a job or employment. It's all about people that know about caring. They help others live with the blood that they are sharing. Someone having surgery, cancer or anemia, accident, sickle cell, eviction, leukemia, the list goes on. These are the people we love, and the best we can show them by donating our blood. It doesn't take much time for registration to Canteen. It's all healthy people who are at least 16. Buzzword and Buffett got to never miss a trick. The only thing you'll feel is a tiny little stick. So come on, guess what? Make sure it's on the shelf because you never know someday. You might it yourself. Y'all give blood. Tell them Dan the Blood Man sent you. All right? Thank you.